It started like any normal morning. Sunlight poured through my kitchen window. The palm trees swayed gently in the breeze, and for the first time in weeks, I thought I might actually get a chance to relax. That was until I opened the front door. There, it was again another letter from the HOA. My stomach sank. I didn't even need to open it. I already knew. Probably another violation. Maybe my trash bin sat out 45 minutes too long. Maybe my kid left a scooter on the porch again. Maybe the grass was half an inch too tall. Kai tore it open, and sure enough, I was right. A $150 fine for excessive mildew buildup on the side gate. Excessive mildew. It had rained every day for the past 2 weeks. I was working double shifts. I barely had time to sleep, let alone power wash some fence no one even walked past. I remember standing there, reading that notice, and wondering, how did we get here? How did we let a group of neighbors, many of whom had never said a kind word, to me, hold this much power over my life, my home, my family? But I'm not alone. Not even close. Across Florida, across the entire country, millions of homeowners just like me are waking up to the cold. Frustrating truth. For too long, homeowners. Associations have gone unchecked. They've issued fines for everything from garden flags to driveway stains. They've bullied senior citizens, threatened veterans, intimidated single moms, and turned paradise into a prison one rule at a time. But not anymore. Because this year, something extraordinary happened in Florida. A shift, a reckoning. On July 1st, 2024, House Bill 1203 took effect. And with it, the grip of oppressive HOAs loosened for good. But before we get into what this new law does, let me take you back. Let me show you the human cost. Because it wasn't passed in a vacuum. It was passed because real people, real families, had suffered for years. Let me tell you about James. James is a retired Army veteran who bought a small home in a quiet Florida neighborhood, thinking it would be a peaceful place to spend his later years. One day he noticed a small crack in his driveway. He bought a bucket of concrete patch from Home Depot's, then $4 and fixed it himself. He felt good about it, proud. He didn't want to bother anyone or pay for a contractor. But the HOA had other ideas. They said he didn't request permission. They said the color of the patch didn't match the neighborhood standard. They fined him first $100, then $50 per day. It added up fast. Within 2 months, James had racked up over $5,000 in fines, and he didn't even know it. The HOA had been sending letters to an old mailing address. And when James finally got the notice, it wasn't just a bill. It was a lien. His home, his sanctuary was on the line, all over a patch of cement. He fought it, of course. But the board didn't budge. He hired an attorney. The legal fees stacked up. He lost sleep. He lost weight. He stopped sleeping in his bed because he'd started having panic attacks at night. He'd sit on his recliner wondering what he did wrong. His story broke hearts. And it wasn't the only one. There was Maria, a mother of 2, fined $75 per day for having a swing set that disrupted aesthetic flow. There was Marcus, a disabled veteran, fined for using a wheelchair ramp without prior approval. There was Keisha, fined for her garden bed because it attracted bees. Each story more absurd than the last. But that's what happens when power goes unchecked. When rules are weaponized instead of used for community benefit. But finally, someone listened. Florida legislators began receiving complaint after complaint. County hearings overflowed. Homeowners banded together. TikToks went viral. Stories spread like wildfire, okay? And lawmakers realized this wasn't a one-off. This was an epidemic. So they wrote a bill, not just a weak slap in the wrist reform, an actual comprehensive overhaul. One that sent a message loud and clear: HOAs no longer run the show. And that's where HB 1203 comes in. So what does it do? Let's walk through it story by story, rule by rule, because trust me, this isn't just policy. This is power. This is freedom. First step. Trash cans. It used to be that if you brought your bin out too early, it didn't wheel it in quickly enough, you could face a fine. Seriously, even 10 minutes could trigger a penalty. Some HOAs even sent out volunteers to photograph bins as evidence. No longer now. Florida law states you can place your bin out of to 24 hours before pickup, and you have 24 hours after to bring it back. That's 48 hours of flexibility. Because life doesn't revolve around trash schedules. People work. People get sick. People travel. This rule respects that. Then there's the holiday decoration clause. You want to hang lights early? Keep them up a little longer. Go for it. The HOA can't touch you unless they first give you a written notice, and even then, you have a full week to take action. No more rushing to strip your house of joy because a board member doesn't like inflatables. Now. Let's talk about something that has ruined careers: vehicle restrictions, pickup trucks, work vans, commercial logos. For years, many HOAs banned them outright, even if it was your personal vehicle, even if it was legally registered, even if it was your only mode of transportation to and from work. I knew a man named Eli. He worked for a plumbing company, honest work. He parked his truck in his own driveway and was told to hide it in a garage or risk fines. He didn't have a garage. So he started parking a mile away and walking home at midnight just to avoid the board's wrath. Now, HB 1203 makes it illegal for HOAs to ban work vehicles as long as they comply with local ordinances. A huge win for working-class homeowners. But it doesn't stop there. Hurricane protection is now your right. You don't need HOA approval to install hurricane impact windows, doors, or shutters. No more waiting for permission while a storm barrels toward your city. No more risking your family's safety for the sake of neighborhood uniformity. Your safety now comes first. Gardens are also protected. You can plant fruits, veggies, herbs as long as they're in your backyard and not visible from the front of the property. Want to hang a clothesline? That's your right to. Inside your home is now officially off limits to HOA jurisdiction. That means if you want to finish your garage, redo a bedroom, add insulation, whatever it may be, they can't stop you, as long as it doesn't change the outside appearance. And perhaps most critically, transparency is now mandatory. Every HOA must create or update a digital portal where they post budgets, rules, meeting minutes, and contact information. All homeowners must be given at least 14 days. Notice before any new assessments or major decisions. This is one of the most important provisions in the entire law, because secrecy was the HOA's strongest weapon. When people don't know what's happening, they can't fight back. Now they can. And if the board tries to ignore the law, tries to hide documents, manipulate votes, or suppress information, they could face criminal charges. Let me say that again, criminal charges, because for the first time, the law doesn't just give homeowners rights, gives those rights teeth. It means that bully with a clipboard can no longer fine you into bankruptcy without consequences. That neighbor on the board who used their position to settle personal grudges. They're no longer untouchable. This is accountability. This is justice. Some HOAs are furious. Of course they are. They say this law ties their hands. They claim it opens the door to chaos, to disrepair, to lowered home values. But ask yourself, when did we decide that property value mattered more than peace of mind? More than fairness? More than a mother's right to hang a wreath without fear of retaliation? This law doesn't create chaos. It creates balance. Because for the first time in a long time, homeowners have a voice. And it doesn't stop with Florida data. Other states are watching, legislators are taking notes. Because they see what happens when people stand together. When victims share their stories, when injustice is dragged into the sunlight, they see that it's not just about trash cans or decorations. It's about dignity. It's about respect. It's about the idea that your home, your sanctuary should never feel like a battlefield. So what now? If you live in Florida, learn your rights. Print out HB 1203. Share it with your neighbors. Don't let your board tell you otherwise. If you live elsewhere, push for reform. Show your lawmakers what Florida just did. Demand they follow suit. And no matter where you live, share this message, because somewhere out there, another James is getting a fine for fixing a crack. Another Maria is crying over a swing set. Another Keisha is being told her garden doesn't belong. They deserve to know. Change is possible. They deserve to know. They are not alone. And above all, they deserve to feel safe, respected, and free, just like you.